how I worked in the dark was before I went into the light, before the lights were switched off. I looked at where everything was and made a mental picture in my head of where everything was, in my room, outside, how we ate and everything. And then for me, I play computer games, 3D computer games. So what I found is the same pattern applies in a virtual reality as the same as this reality. I can make a map in my head of how the game is. And through remembering that map, I find my way in the dark. I also would do patterns in the dark where I would know I'd come out of my room, take 2 steps to the left, I'd find a pillar, I'd walk around the pillar, I'd take approximately 15 steps forward and there would be another pillar, and I'd turn left again, and I would get to the table where the food was. So I would program myself in this way. Sometimes I got lost and I was a bit confused, but if I found myself lost, then I'd find a reference point, be it a wall or the mats or somewhere, and then I'd be able to recreate this picture in my mind so I know where I was in the map. So all the time in my head I had this map. It almost felt like as well, the map was in my head but it was also outside. So it wasn't like some people could see auras and that, but I could feel with my mind in the dark. I could actually feel where everything was, whether my eyes were shut or not. And so this is how I found my way around. I found that some people didn't have that, but for me it seemed to come naturally. And I just knew where everything was because I'd seen it in the light, and therefore I knew where it was in the dark, and it was there. It wasn't going anywhere. So as long as I maintained this map, then when I looked for something, there it was. Even if it was slightly out of place because my mind wasn't orientated, I'd quickly find it in reference to what else I've bumped into or found. Right, well, in the darkness, yes, it definitely enhanced my experience of meditation, because in the dark there is no external, therefore, or not that I could see anyway, the external senses are limited, you've got no sight, and when it's quiet there's nothing to hear. Therefore, I was present to me, and the energy that I was, and the voice that I am, and the presence that I am. So therefore, it increased my meditation manifold, because in the dark all I had was myself. So I got to know myself so much more better. So for me it was a great enhancement for my meditation. It helped me much more bring about that meditative state where I was present to me and the energy of love that I am. Okay, well for me, I didn't experience too many visuals. This year I was focused on the love and the energy as opposed to going out of my body and having hallucinations. So I only found in the last week I started to get swirling white patterns between my eyes, which were like electrical currents, which would come like this and change and cloud and morph, and lots of flashes. I didn't actually see, say, any guides or beings from other planes as such as to feeling more of a connectedness. I felt the connectedness made me feel more myself, feel more the love, feel this presence of love, of being at one with life that was surrounding me and enveloping me. No, the lucid dreams that I had didn't actually have control over them, although I woke up in several dreams. The dreams were guides in themselves, but from no one person. It almost seemed like the dream I was having was like a teaching to me, but it wasn't like a person came and said, oh, you must do this or that. The dream itself, what happened, was almost like regurgitation of issues that I was dealing with in my current external life, say with people or with situations, and these dreams would put me in a situation where, say, I'd feel uncomfortable about this and allowed me to emotionally accept it, and therefore they were a guide in themselves without actually being a personal thing. Yes, I do actually. When I was in the darkness, I had lots of experiences. My commitment to go into the darkness was to become the love that I am for myself and everybody, and have this as a perfect love, hold it reconnecting with my immortal self and becoming the divine love, the love that's unconditional for everyone. And I felt through that, what it brought up for me, this commitment which I declared at first, was all these childhood emotional issues that I had, say, with my mother or my father, which were bringing patterns into my life, into my relationships, which were causing breakdowns, causing destruction. And I felt that in the dark it allowed me to bring these up and then work them out, to audit them out of myself. And then after that I could see that these patterns were holding me back and that they were a false thing that was stopping me from being the love with everybody in every moment. And therefore, okay, well, I would highly recommend it because I've been doing spiritual practice for 20 years, since I was 16. I've been all over the world. I've worked with Buddhists, Christians, Jews, Muslims. I've studied lots of other things, Scientology, the Fourth Way, Gurdjieff's system, seminar training, something called the Forum, which is all about ontology, what it is to be a human being and study yourself as an actor in life. And for me, the Darkroom experiences brought all that spiritual teaching together. It seemed to synthesize and fuse everything I'd learned about who I was. Because in the dark, I was just sat with everything that I'd learned. I couldn't get away from myself. And I felt that it brought it all together powerfully. So I highly recommend it to anyone who's done a lot of spiritual practice. Because for me, in the dark, then you can sit and reflect on your whole life, everything you've done, who you are as a person, your commitment to life, and what you want it to become. You're in a space of silence and stillness where nothing's distracting you. So it's a perfect space to do such a thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. It's my second year this year, and the first year I did 2 weeks, and the next year I did 4 weeks. And I felt that each time it's got better.
Yes.
That this year, last year I felt so in touch with the love, but this year I just felt I was in an ocean of love. There were some times where I would just sit and cry. I felt so much love. And sometimes I would wake up in this golden egg of light, which was how I feel when I've been out of my body, that I go into this golden egg of light. But this golden egg was actually my body too, what's actually within me and outside of me. And so I'll definitely be back again and again, because I feel that the Darkroom is a definite key and a pathway to an enlightenment very quickly. I'd highly recommend it to everybody.